I'm going to explain distributed systems. This is from Fine BSc Computers, 6th semester cluster syllabus. In this video, I'm going to explain the following contents. Please study these contents. First one is operating system, types of operating system, introduction to distributed systems, characteristics of distributed system, advantages of distributed system, goals of distributed systems. These contents that we are going to discuss in our today's video. Before starting all these, first let us see what is an operating system. Operating system is a very important software. Without operating system, a computer will not work because operating system behaves like a manager to the computer. It manages the important resources like memory, other peripherals, etc. It allocates required memory for all the applications. It performs internal troubleshooting operations also. So, without operating system, our computer will not work. Even in our smartphones also, today we are using operating systems. So, operating system can be defined as an operating system or OS is a software program that enables the computer hardware to communicate and operate with the computer software. So this communicates with hardware and software also. It behaves like a coordinator between computer and the human, between the computer and the operator. So without an operating system, a computer software program would be useless. Without operating system, hardware also useless. There are so many operating systems today. Those are Windows. This is from Microsoft. There are so many flavors in this Microsoft Windows. Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows Millennium. Like that, there are so many operating systems from Microsoft Corporation. Similarly, some other operating systems are there. Some other operating systems from other companies are also there. Those are also most popular. Those are Unix, Linux, OS2, like that. There are different types of operating systems. Based on the operation of the operating system, based on the nature of the operating system, these operating systems will be classified. There are so many types of operating systems based on the nature, based on the type of working of the operating system. These are the types of operating systems. So this classification is based on the response time and how it works. What is the nature? Based on these concepts, operating systems can be classified as single user, multi-user, multitasking, multi-processing or parallel system, distributed, and real-time. These are different types of operating systems. Please study this classification. Now, let us discuss each one. Which type of operating systems behaves in which manner? First one, if you see single user, this is single user. Again, this single user operating system is two types. Single user single task, single user multitask. Single user operating system can be classified again the following types: single user single task and single user multitasking. Let us see what is single user single task and what is single user multitask. First one, single user single task. What we can do with this? This single user single task operating system is designed to manage the computer. So one user can work with this operating system at the same time. Only one user can work with this operating system at a time. So it can be explained as this single user operating system, single user single task operating system is designed to manage the computer so that the user can effectively do one thing at a time. Single user can do a single task at a time. He cannot do another task at the same time. So what is the example for this single user and single task? Today we're using handheld computers. That's what handheld devices. In this, we are using single user, single task operating system. With the help of this operating system, user can do only a single task at the same time. A single user can do a single task at the same time. That is single user, single task. And another type of operating system is there. That is single user multitasking. So in this operating system, another extra facility is there. In this operating system, this is designed with a single user, but he can deal with many applications at the same time. A single user can deal more than one application at the same time. Only one user can log in. Only one user can operate this operating system, but he can do more tasks at the same time. He can work with more applications at the same time. That is called as single user multitasking. And one more. So what is the example for single user multitasking? That's what Microsoft Windows and Apple Mac, these two operating systems fall under single user multitasking operating system example category. So please study these examples and this description. How a single user can work with multiple tasks in this single user multitasking. For example, in Windows user, it's entirely possible for a Windows user to be writing a note in MS Word. At the same time, he can download some other content from web. He can print on printer. He can view some audio also. Like that, user can work with more than one task at a time in this single user multitasking. So this is an example for multitasking. Here they are using browsers. He is using a PowerPoint presentation like that. So single user is doing multiple tasks in this example. And another type of operating system, multi-user. Multiple users can work with this one. This operating system allows many different users to take advantage of the computer's resource simultaneously. Multiple users can use this operating system. Multiple users can work with this operating system. If the computer is having multiple user operating system, multiple users can use this computer simultaneously. They can access the computer and its resources simultaneously at a time. In this, time sharing systems, internet servers, these are all fall under multi-user systems. So in this multi-user system, multiple users can log into the computer and they can work as they want. This is example for multi-user operating system. In this, single CPU is there. This CPU contains a multi-user operating system. Multiple users logged in to this operating system at the same time. Each one can perform different tasks as they want. One person can work with word processing, another person can work with a spreadsheet, another person can work with an internet. Like that, each person can work with different tasks, and at the same time, all these persons can log into this multi-user operating system simultaneously at the same time. So this can be explained in another way here also. One person is working with Windows, and another person is working with Glass, and another person is working with another one, like that. Each person is working with different tasks. So operating system, multi-user operating system, which is installed in this system, in this CPU, can serve all these users. Like that, multi-user operating system can service multiple users at the same time. Examples for this multi-user operating system are Unix, VMF, VMS, mainframe operating systems. All these operating systems fall under multi-user operating system. And one more operating system, another type of operating system, that is multitasking. How this multitasking operating system works? This allows more than one program to run concurrently. More than one program can be executed on this multitasking operating system. That means the tasks share common processing resources. Common resources can be shared by these tasks, such as the CPU, memory. All these resources will be shared by different tasks. Thus, multitasking operating system works. In the process, only one CPU is involved. Of course, there will be only one CPU. But that CPU switches from one task to another task. It switches from one program to another program. It's very quickly. One CPU can work with several applications just by switching from one to another. Thus, this multitasking operating system works. But for all the users, it looks like the single processor, the single CPU is servicing all the users at the same time. But it's not true. In this multitasking operating system, one CPU is switching between different tasks one by one after one, but it's very quickly. User cannot identify the difference between the switching. Thus, multitasking operating system works. So this is the example for multitasking operating system. First, please study these points related to multitasking operating system. It allows more than one program to run concurrently. That means at the same time, more than one task can be executed. The tasks share common processing resources. Resources means here CPU, memory, all these are called as resources. In the process, only one CPU is involved, as we already discussed. One CPU can switch between different programs. User cannot identify the switching. Please study this diagram. This is from multitasking. After that, one more operating system we have, that is multiprocessing. Please study these points about multiprocessing. First one, multiprocessing in general refers to utilization of multiple CPUs in single computer system. We will have only one single CPU. We will have only one computer system. But that computer system will have multiple CPUs. So this is to increase the performance of the computer. We can use more than one CPUs in a single computer system. So what is the advantage of using more than one CPUs in a single computer system? This enables several programs to run concurrently. Several programs can be executed concurrently. So, if you observe this point, the term also refers to the ability of the system to support more than one processor. Multiprocessing means if a system supports more than one process, then it can be called as multiprocessing system. And one more operating system is there, batch processing operating system. What is the nature of batch processing operating system? Please study these points. The OS defines a job which has predefined sequence of commands. That means the tasks to be performed will be created as batches, will be created as commands. That is the meaning of the first point. After that, the second one is the OS keeps number of jobs in memory and executes them without any manual information. So based on the priority given, like first come first serve manner, all these jobs in the batch will be executed one after another one. First, all the jobs to be performed will be created as batches, and all the jobs will be completed as a batch. That's why here the third point will give you the description. Jobs are processed in the order of submission. In which order the jobs will be completed? A batch may contain 10 jobs or 50 jobs. So these jobs will be completed one after another one. In which manner these will be completed? Like first come first served fashion. When a job completes its execution, it releases the memory allocated for this, and that same memory will be allocated for another job, batch. Like that, jobs will be created as batches, and these batches will be completed one by one based on the priority. So this diagram will give us about batch processing. Please study this, and please study these points also one. These 4 points will give you the nature of batch processing system, and this diagram explains. Here we have a single CPU, an operating system, and several jobs are there. These jobs are created as batches, and each batch will be completed by CPU. And next one is real-time system. What is real-time system? Today we are using these operating systems very much. A real-time operating system is a multitasking operating system. That means in this multiple tasks can be performed. In this, the main aim of this real-time system is to execute real-time applications. So to execute real-time applications, real-time operating system is created. So the main object of this real-time operating system is to operate all the tasks very quickly. The response must be in real time. Immediate response is required. That's why the third point will give you in it the time interval required to process and respond to input is so small. These real-time operating systems will respond very fastly. This is another type of operating system. Examples: QNX, RTLNX. These are all real-time operating systems. These real-time operating systems will be used in control machinery, scientific instruments, and industrial systems. And in different areas, these real-time operating systems can be used. So these are different types of operating systems. And now let us start our discussion with distributed systems. This is a different type of technology. Today, we're all using the fruits of this distributed system. What is a distributed system? Sometimes it can be called as distributed computing system, distributed operating system. By substituting all these words, distributed systems, distributed operating systems, distributed computing systems, All these terms can be used. These are all similar terms, and this is similar technology. What is a distributed system? A distributed system, a distributed computer system is basically this is collection of process. So many processes can be grouped as one. So collection of process are interconnected with the help of a communication channel, with the help of a communication link. So in this, several computers participate. That's why here we are defining it as a distributed computer system is basically collection of processes. These are interconnected by a communication network in which process has its own local memory. Of course, in this system, each processor will have its local memory, but all these processes will be connected with the help of a communication channel. Every CPU, every system will have its own memory. Every processor will have its own memory. Observe carefully. There are 10 processors are there, 10 systems are there. Each processor will have its own memory. Each system will have its own memory and its own peripherals. So these will be communicated. These will be connected with the help of a communication channel. So by concentrating the capacity of all these systems as one, a distributed system can be created. In this, the communication between these processes, how the communication will be performed between these processes. This can be handled with the help of message passing system. A system will be there because all the processes must communicate each other to perform, to handle a particular task. So how this communication will be performed between these systems? With the help of message passing system. When this distributed system is useful, let us take an example. Suppose we have a task to complete. This is a very large task. We have 10 systems. If you observe this diagram, you can identify the necessity of the distributed system. This is example for distributed system. Here we have so many systems. Personal computers are there, workstations are there, some servers are there. All these systems are connected with help of a communication channel. Here it is a local area network and wide area network also used here. Network gateways are used. Some personal computers are used. Workstations used. File servers are used. Print servers are used. Like that, different computers are connected each other with the help of this communication channel. This communication is not to share information. If you want to share information, simply you can use ordinary LAN or MAN like that. You can use ordinary network. If you want to share information, if you want to share data, if you want to share files, simply you can use ordinary network. But what is the specialty of this distributed system? In this, tasks can be shared between these systems. Resource can be shared between these systems. For example, if let us discuss the same diagram. On the system, I want to perform a task. Say this is node 1. I want to perform a large task on this system. But the capacity of the system is not sufficient to complete the task. Of course, this is a very fastest computer, even though the task is very large. So, this single system cannot handle that lengthy task, the large task. In this entire system, there are some other several systems also there. So, at this time, what we can do, the task to be performed on this system can be shared among the remaining systems also. The single task which is to be performed can be shared between these systems. So these four systems, maybe three systems, maybe 10 systems will share the single task, and all these systems will complete the task simultaneously. Finally, the results will be sent to the system. Like that, by sharing tasks, we can complete large tasks when the capacity is not sufficient. And another situation we have to discuss. Suppose we want to perform an application on this system. To complete that application, this system requires 10 GB of memory, but it's having only 2 GB. Then what they can do? The memory available in these systems can be used in this system. The system is having only 2 GB capacity, but remaining systems also having extra memory. These systems are ideal. Then why should we use these systems ideal? Simply, we can use the memory available in these systems into this system. We are not physically moving this memory from this system to this one. Simply, its memory, the memory of these remaining four machines, can be used in this system with the help of this distributed system. Thus, tasks can be shared between number of systems. Thus, just simply concentrating the capacity of several systems into one system. And resource can also be shared. Resource can also be concentrated into one system. Resource like memory can also be concentrated, can also be centralized into a single system without physically moving. Like that, we can share the capacity, the processing capacity of the systems, and different resources of the systems with the help of this distributed system. Please study this diagram carefully. In this distributed system, the components, that means the systems that are participating in the distributed system, may be located in different areas. That's why we're explaining the same concept here. In these systems, the components located on network computers communicate and coordinate their actions by passing messages. Of course, one system may be in another country. One system may be located in India. One is located in Hyderabad. One is located in Chennai, and one is located in Japan. Even though all these systems will be communicated each other, these will be communicated by passing messages. So here, the user don't know where the systems are located. Of course, these will be geographically located at different locations, but the user don't know where these systems are located. Systems at different areas will participate in the distributed system with the help of communication link. These provides their services. The actual user don't know where the task is completed and which system service here. Here, this system may be in Chennai, this may be in Mumbai, this may be in Delhi, and this may be in some other location like Hyderabad. So these will be communicated, but the user on the system don't know the services are provided from different areas. So the same point here explained here. Please study these points. A distributed system consists of collection of autonomous computers connected through a network, and distribution middleware also used here. This middleware is very important software which creates the communication and which performs all the distributed operations. And computers to coordinate their activities to share resources of the system. Here, observe carefully, the user perceives the system as a single. The user don't know this entire distributed system contains so many systems. The user feels this entire system as a single unit. So these are the components, these are the contents I explained here. Please study this one and study this diagram also carefully. By using this distributed system, the processing speed can be shared. The processing speed can be centralized at a particular location into a particular system. The memory also can be, of course, not only memory, the resources can also be used. The resources of different systems, several systems, can also be used here into a single system. Now, let us see what are the characteristics of this distributed system. First one, difference between various computers and the way in which they communicate are mostly hidden from the user. This is the first characteristic. Even a particular task is performed in different computers which are located geographically in different countries, but the user don't know where the task is completed. All these details will be hidden from the user. That is the first one. User don't know where the task is completed. User don't know in which system it is completed and how many systems are participating in this distributed system. User feels this entire distributed system as a single one. He never feels this is number of systems. And the second one is user and applications can interact with a distributed system in a reliable way, regardless where and when interaction plays. This is most reliable structure. There is no chance for errors. So the entire distributed system is reliable. That is the second one. And the third characteristic is it is very easy to expand. Suppose if you create 50 systems as a distributed system and you want to expand this distributed system into 100, you want to increase the count, you want to increase number of systems in this entire arrangement. It's very simple. You can simply expand this distributed system without disturbing the existing system. That is the third one. And one more, even in failure cases also, this distributed system will work. Suppose we have 50 systems are there in this distributed system. 50 systems are connected. So if any one system in the distributed system is failed, then remaining 49 systems will work. The entire distributed system can work as usual. The only failed system will down, the remaining 49 systems will work. So if any part of this distributed system is failed, no problem. The remaining system will work automatically. So that is another characteristic. And what are the advantages of distributed systems? In these distributed systems, information can be shared among geographically distribute users. Users will be in different areas. Users will be in different countries. Even they are in different areas, even they are in different countries, they can simply share information. That is the first advantage. And resource sharing is another advantage here. That means we can share resource like hardware, we can share resource like software. Like that, we can share resources. And this is a better price performance ratio because here the cost will be less. With the utilization of this technology, the cost will be decreased. At the same time, this is very fastest one. So the response time is very less and higher throughput will be there. Another one, this is most reliable also. How this is reliable? Even in failures, the remaining system will work. Suppose we have 100 systems in the distributed system, 20 systems are down, 20 systems are failed, remaining 80 systems will be executed automatically. So the remaining 80 systems will work automatically. They never fall down. And another advantage is extensibility and increment. You can extend it very easily. We can increment number of systems, better flexibility. Like that, there are so many advantages in this distributed system. Finally, goals of this distributed system. What are the goals? Please study this one. The relative simplicity of software. That is the first one. The software must be simple. Each processor will have a dedicated function. So a particular processor will work with that particular function only. So like that, it will be designed. Incremental growth is another goal. If we need 10% computing power, we simply just add 10% more process. We need not add much more. So gradually you can increase the distributed system. At the beginning, you started a distributed system with 50. After some time, you need some other 20. Simply add 20. After some time, you need some other 30. Simply add 30. Like that, whenever you want to increase the performance of this entire system, simply you can increase like that. And reliability and availability. This is another goal of the distributed system. If few parts of the system, if any part of the system is failed, the system must not down. The entire system must not down. Only failed part will sent into idle and the remaining part will automatically work and it will be continuously in processing.